Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Ironbark Podcast. I am your host, Epion, and today we are going to be talking about some mice on an island that are devouring albatross. Yep. So I'll just read you the article. It comes straight from Live Science. So what do we have here? Okay. Mice on remote island that eat albatross alive sentenced to death by quote unquote bombing, scientists decree. The wandering albatross of Marion Island can't defend themselves against the invasive mice population that devours birds alive, but conservationists say a rodenticide, you know what I mean, bomb could save them. Invasive mice are devouring albatross alive on a remote island in the Indian Ocean, so conservationists have come up with an explosive solution: bombing the mice. You would think like Americans came up with this. Mice have been wreaking havoc on Marion Island between South Africa and Antarctica for decades. Humans accidentally introduced the mice in the 19th century, and rodents have since developed a taste for wandering albatross and other threatened seabirds. The Mouse Marion Project, a collaboration between the South African government and the BirdLife South Africa, is trying to raise $29 million to drop 600 metric tons of rodent-side-laced pellets onto the island in winter of 2027. This is interesting. So it's not really a bomb. It's just like a bunch of laced pellets. I mean, this is a sensational article, clearly. It's not a bomb. You're just literally laying rat poison on an island. The project plans to send a squad of helicopters to drop the pellets. Holy shit. Like they really are making it seem like a military operation. By striking in the winter when the mice are mostly hungry, the conservationists hope to eradicate the entire mouse population of up to 1 million individuals. We have to get rid of every last mouse, says the CEO of BirdLife South Africa. If there was a male and a female remaining, they could breed eventually back to where they are now. That is true. They could do that. That's true. You have to actually eradicate them all. House mice arrived at Marion Island via sealing ships. They began their reign of terror by decimating the island's invertebrates and feasting on seabird eggs. By 2003, the mice were eating seabird chicks alive, and now a decade later, the mice have figured out a way that they can take out the adults too. Researchers discovered the carcasses of 8 adult wandering albatross in April 2023. The birds had deep wounds indicative of mice attacks on their elbows and likely died from secondary infection or starvation. Since then, further reports of adult seabird fatalities show that the mouse attacks are escalating. Mice climb onto them into like their feathers and kind of just start eating them. Well, and they can't really do much about it. So I think that's about all I'm going to really read you. I think that you get the gist of it. It's quite interesting. It really is quite interesting. You have like this. So albatross, they only lay in one egg like every other year. So having a chick die is actually quite significant to like mice, and can actually decimate the entire species if you think about it. If it were me, I don't know. I think you need like a multifaceted approach to get rid of mice. You need to get like those buckets, like, you know, those humane traps they have where the mice fall into the buckets. It's like a trapdoor panel. I think you got to bring over like an industrial level bunch of those, and you just got to trap them all along with the pellets. I think if you just rely strictly on the pellets, there could be like a negative effect of that too. Like, you could have like birds eating them, and then the birds, after they eat the pesticide rodents, they die. Pesticide's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Ask anyone who knows, and believe me, I know pesticides. I used to work in the pest industry. It's a very good industry. It's very lucrative. But yeah. So you got to be. I don't know if that's the best route, but it's quite sad that these mice don't have a whole lot to eat, right? They're stuck on this little island. So they've ate through all the crustaceans. They probably ate like all of the available like vegetation that's possible for them to eat. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like eating each other, like cannibalistic behavior. It's common amongst rats on a ship. So I reckon they're probably eating each other at this point as well. It wouldn't surprise me. Um, that's the problem with mice these days. They just want instant gratification. They don't want to work for anything. They just want to eat each other and, pick on eggs and, small birds. And that's the problem. That was my best impression of like a Jordan Peterson. Let's see here. What else could I talk about? I wanted to kind of speculate a bit on like chimpanzees and that sort of thing. So chimpanzees, I've watched some documentaries on them. They sort of have like this inclination to like fairness. They really like fairness in like a troop, and they sort of favor the like alpha male who's like most fair or like shares a lot with everyone to make sure everyone kind of gets a fair crack at it, like even amount of food distribution, that sort of thing. And then there was like this like instance where the zookeeper gave this one chimp cake for its birthday and didn't give the other chimps at the zoo cake. And then when like the zookeeper like went in or let the other chimps in, they just like all like attacked him and just like killed him or like tore him apart. I don't know if maybe he's still alive. I don't know. But it got me really thinking, like, I don't know, like, what if now this might anger some people, but what if communism is sort of like sort of like ingrained in our behavior, like from an evolutionary standpoint? And I'm not saying that communism's the way to go. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what if it's just sort of like a basic evolutionary behavior, and you kind of have to evolve beyond that to sort of become a more developed species. Don't get mad at me if you're a communist. I'm not a communist, but I'm just saying, if the chimpanzees are doing it, maybe it's not the best. Some people might say it is the best, but, I'm not going to go there. I believe in democracy. So we're going to go, I don't know. Do chimps have democracy? That would be interesting if they ever did evolve into that. They ever get democracy. They might have some sort of voting system. They might vote in the communist leaders. They definitely do have fascism. They definitely have like some leaders that take it by force, but I think they team up and they're kind of like, we got to get rid of this guy. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's food for thought, that's for sure. I can't really go much more into it, but that's sort of like the cursory level of speculation on politics in the animal kingdom. What else could we talk about? This past weekend, I went on a hike with a friend. I was not soloing it. Went to a pretty popular hike, family-friendly hike, easy hike, beginner level, very easy, very simple. It's a beautiful hike. It was good to have a conversation with someone and, shoot the shit. We're going to plan another hike. Hopefully it's, I think we want to do a more challenging one. This time, I kind of want to introduce the aspect of trying to run it a bit. I want to do like mountain training. So we might do like a Lake Louise type of thing. We might go to the Beehive and we might run as hard as we can up to that mountain. I think the goal is to do it in 40 minutes. I think I've done it in like 43, 47 minutes before up to the tea house. So I kind of want to do that. And what else? Did I see any animals this weekend? Some deer, some whitetails. No bear. Bear season's pretty much over. The summer gets really busy. Tons of people are around and they kind of scare them all away. You got to go pretty far and remote. Kind of see them at this point. You do kind of see them here and there, but they're definitely not as easy to see. The forest in Jasper completely decimated. I'm pretty sure I said this last podcast, but dang, man, like I just keep thinking about it. It's just scorched earth, like for a vast sides of the mountainsides. Like if you go to like the town center of like Jasper and look out from like where like in front of the railroad track is, kind of where like the big totem pole thing is and stuff, you can just see the entire mountainside landscape and like basically surrounding the entire town. If you just kind of like do even like a 360, it's completely scorched and gone. And then south from this, like the town proper, like all the valleys and mountainsides are just like scorched as well. It's horrific. It felt like it was like an hour of driving before it really went away, but it might be less than that. But it felt like it stretched. It got spotty around Honeymoon Lake, but it like definitely went as far as Athabasca Falls and stuff like that. I mean, when you get a chance to go look at it, I suggest that go take a look to kind of just get a real understanding of how bad it was. What else could I talk about? What else could we talk about? What else could we talk about? I think I have a thing on bonobos. What do we have here? Bonobos, the ancient origin of the common enemy effect. So this was a paper published in, I don't know. I think maybe it was Nature. I don't know. Some Science Daily. I'm just going to read you a summary. And if I don't understand it, maybe you do. A link between outgroup threats and in-group cohesion has been considered since the time of Darwin to be an adaptation for group-based competition. During the years since, studies of all sorts, from chimpanzees to cichlid fish to mongooses, have found evidence supporting this view. But a crucial question has remained unanswered. What about species without strong intergroup competition? Introdasting. Then it's not really like a common enemy effect. It's kind of just like, this is an enemy. I act independently. This is an enemy for you. I don't know that, but you're acting independently as well. I could go more into this, but I don't actually know, and I don't really think I want to. It seems long. It seems actually not that long. Not that long. What is this? This is an article. Is this a full story? In the face of threats from other groups, humans, chimpanzees, and a selection of other species get closer with their own. Now, an international team led by Kyoto University has shown that even our more peaceful cousins, bonobos, who have never been observed to kill outsiders, show a moderate version of this effect, hinting that this behavior may have emerged several million years ago before our lineages went their separate ways. Take from that what you want. I don't know. A link between outgroup threats and in-group cohesion has been considered since the time of Darwin to be an adaptation for group-based competition during the years since. Okay, I just read that. To find the answer, the Kyoto University team set up an experiment matched as closely as possible to earlier study with chimpanzees, playback of vocalizations from other groups, and total 8 groups of bonobos at 5 sites in 4 countries were studied. We have no idea what would turn out, says the lead author, James Brooks. Without lethal competition between groups, a link between in-group cohesion and out-group competition wouldn't be so adaptive. But in the effect dated back to before the human-chimpanzee bonobo evolutionary split, then there might still be relics of the effect in modern bonobos. The team's findings published in the journal PLOS 1 indicate that the observed bonobos were alert and attentive to the calls of other groups, but show just a minor increase in affiliation with their own group when compared to chimpanzees. The bonobos were observed sitting upright more and resting less, with a subtle increase in rates of social grooming, the key behavior of reinforcing social bonds. The authors hypothesized that our common ancestor, living 5 to 6 million years ago, may have had some group-based conflict, but that as the intensity decreased the bonobo's evolutionary history, so too did the strength of the effect. Although our study exposed deep roots to group conflict among our species, the real takeaway is that this can be overcome, adds Brooks, not merely in individual instances, but in a species level. All other ape species, including gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, gibbons, and humans, have been observed killing one another in the wild. Bonobos may have been found way to end this pattern, not only because they do not commit lethal aggression today, but more importantly because at some point within the past few million years they somehow stopped. Humans are capable of both. We commit horrific acts to those we see as an outside group, but we're also capable of collaborating, working together across borders. For humans, like, we commit great acts of horror on outside groups, but we also do it on inside groups as well, right? Like, and we also have like really, we work together with outside groups as well. Humans they're kind of all over the map, really. We'll see what else this article says here. Bonobos teach us that the ways of our ancestors treated other groups does not seal our fate. Our own species has elements of both chimpanzee and bonobo group relations, so it's crucial that we understand how both can and have evolved. Interesting. It's saying that these chimpanzees don't kill similar species. Can humans not? I mean, some humans don't, right? Some humans do. Some humans do. Can we evolve past that? That gets into like a weird kind of conversation, because then you would have to suggest that the humans less inclined to like murder and aggression would have to be the ones procreating and passing on those genes that for less aggression, and the ones that have more aggression that are capable of murder or do murder or have murdered don't pass on their genes. Don't know if that's like so you would basically have to be like everyone who is in the military, who's seen combat, or is in law enforcement, isn't able to reproduce, because, and then also you would have to be like criminals are no longer able to reproduce. But what if they reproduce and then they become criminals? And what do you do with the kids? Like when they get older, do you like say they can't reproduce? Like it's kind of a weird thing to suggest that for people, because we're obviously bonobos have a much smaller population than people, and they have a much smaller group. So I don't know. That's a weird article. That's a strange one to kind of be like, oh, humans can evolve past it too. Maybe not in the same way. Definitely not in the same way. Maybe just through, I don't know, just the way humans kind of develop. Like we've become less violent as time's gone on, just because scarcity of resources is kind of, we found ways to kind of make sure everyone has food in their mouths and shelter over their heads, and we're increasing the standard of living so people don't feel like they have to fight or die. Maybe that's the answer, not necessarily genetically like this kind of suggests, but anyway, that's pretty much all I got for this podcast. Don't forget to throw me a follow on X. I've hit kind of a standstill with the followers. Not getting a whole lot of traction. Not a whole lot. Very little. Not a whole lot. It's not good. It's not very good at all. Maybe you'll follow me. I hope you do. You'll be missing out on a lot if you don't. Yeah. X is pretty much all I care about. I get followers on Instagram here and there. Instagram is kind of outperforming X right now for some reason when I post things. I think it's just because the video quality on Instagram is slightly better, and the music integration helps it a lot. So when I publish a video on there, it's kind of like I get a big push from like the production value it has kind of intrinsically into that platform. If anyone from X is listening, hint, hint, let's improve it a little bit. But they're pretty much into the political swing of things right now with the elections coming up. So they're probably not paying too much mind to like animal content creation and videos. They're kind of just listening to like debates and speeches and interviews and all that kind of stuff. So that's all that matters right now. That's what generates the clicks and views and all that stuff. So yeah, the nature and wildlife guys are getting the back seat again. It's a life of passion. It's a passionate content creator thingamabobber. What else gotta talk about? I wish I had like some new developments in like my social media that I talk about that are like interesting and stuff, but I don't. Man. I friggin' don't. That's a bad sign of growth. The podcast seems to be doing well. All you guys listening. I look at the analytics. I think it's because maybe I've become more frequent on making sure I kind of get one out a week. I know this one came later, but it's Labor Day weekend, so still counts as the weekend. I don't care if you don't think it does. It does, because I said it does. And yeah, you got this episode. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you think about the albatross. The albatross. The albatross. That's like a Tom Green thing, isn't it? And then think about chimpanzees and communism and politics with the chimpanzos. Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell that I'm dragging this out as long as possible to hit the 20-minute mark yet? Have you heard that you're not going to get anything very useful or interesting in this little speech that I'm. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. I love you all. Please share, show people the podcast, show people my social media. Be like, hey, follow this guy, follow him, just follow him. No good reason. You know what? I'll give you some good reasons. If you like animals and you like nature, and you like wildlife, and you like someone that kind of like advocates for it, to kind of put like a good sense or good spin on it when people kind of get too much into the weeds or buy a show, I like to say that I'm the voice of reason that really brings it up to the table, you know, and kind of like lays it all out for you to like the lay person. And kind of like counters people that think they have strong points of view on it. Yeah. Anyway, it's been a blast, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Cheerio. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Au bientôt. Au revoir.